Hello again, gamers and gamettes, and welcome back to another episode of Not So Hardcore Gaming. I am your host, Jeremy, and with me today, I have a close friend of mine.
Hello, I am Zachary, and I am 18 years old with autism. And I love acting, and I love working with animals, and yeah, that's what I love doing, and let's get started.
And of course, you love games.
And I love games.
Beautiful. Alright, so today we'll be talking about Titanfall 2. Now, if you're feeling a slight sense of deja vu here, I have actually spoken about this game previously on the podcast, but today I wanted to have an opportunity to film an episode with Zach. He has been one of my closest friends for a good amount of time, and I thought it would be good to bring him onto the podcast, and we decided to go with this game. So Zach will be talking probably a little bit more because I have said my piece on it, but yeah, we can get another person's perspective on it, and I do hope that you will enjoy. And without further ado, let's get into it. So, firstly, we'll talk, as usual, about visual and audio. So, firstly starting, visually stunning game. Obviously, there's a lot of detail, especially up close. There's a lot of different background scenery, varying from various different arenas, and all of them look completely unique and very eye-grabbing.
Well, I would say the same, like, the visuals, the close-up visuals, just like the game itself, it's a good visual, like, it has, like, good graphics, it's, like...
Yeah.
But the further away it gets for the visuals, I think it could be better, but for its time, I would say it is good.
Yeah, and it did come out 4 years ago now. Not a lot has changed in 4 years. And of course, like, the further away you're looking in the distance, the less detail you can have.
Yeah.
So it's, it is a logical thing, but it would be interesting to see if the game would look any better, like, if it was made now. Just to see just how much we've improved, because I love to look at, like, older games and seeing how quickly we've advanced and how much we've advanced. It would be interesting to see if this would look any different now.
That is a very good point.
Yeah. Yeah. So of course that's the scenery in the background. That's the distance. Up close, when you're walking around an arena, for example, one of the very first arenas is waterfalls and cliffs, and it is beautiful in every part of it.
Yes, I would have to agree with that one. Like, the water going down the cliffs, the rocks that form around it.
Yeah, it's it's sort of, obviously this is a fictional depiction of it. It's just an artist rendering, but it did look genuinely real. And then, of course, you've got from the natural to the man-made. One of the arenas you have is completely mechanical.
Yeah.
And both of them look completely unique and look beautiful. There's been a lot of level design in it.
Yep. So, like with the... Oh, what was it? Just pause it for a sec. So basically, like, the inside of buildings, the building itself is like the glass, the reflection of the glass that you see in the game. It's absolutely beautiful in the factory, like... And it works perfectly, like, natural.
Yeah, it looks like you would expect it to look if it were a real building, especially with, like, the machines assembling things, especially in one particular level. And then, of course, in another level, you're looking at a big building, and you jump through time during that level, and it completely redesigns it from two different perspectives. In the level, you go from what it would look like when it was brand new to what it looks like currently, where things are on fire, it's falling apart, and it looks really, really good.
And my point on this part is like when it transfers from the past to the present, it's like you can see that the age of like how it like went from being completely intact to like being just completely just destroyed, just like
it's a good representation of the passage of time, which is philosophical, but yeah. Now, so moving on, we will talk about the audio. First of all the different weapons have good sounds. They sound how I would expect them to sound. Obviously, if you're a firearms expert, you would know. I'm not at all. So for me, the guns and everything, they did sound real, and they have different sounds for the different class of weapon.
I would have to totally agree, but because I don't remember much on the sounds of the weapons per se.
Yeah, they're sort of
they're unique.
They don't particularly stand out,
but they're unique in their own way.
Yeah, and then of course you have the Titan weapons as well. You know, they're similar sort of sounds, just louder because they're bigger.
Yeah.
You know, and in them you've got one which has an electric sword which makes a little whoosh as it goes through the air, and you hear the crackling.
And
you know, I think the Titan weapons are particularly well fleshed out.
And I like with the swords and all that. Like I love the sound of the like swishing and all that, and the electricity coming off it.
Yeah, so there's
like
it's the one set you have, because you have different loadouts for your Titan, and it's the one, instead of the melee attack punching them, he wields a sword, and that is just the coolest thing. So, you know, the sound again of it is good. Now the voice acting, I very much like. You know, there's fewer characters, and some of them don't talk very long, but your main two, you've got BT, the Titan, and yourself.
So with the voice acting, with BT, like he has a very metallic voice, like what I would think what a robot would sound like if they could speak.
Yeah.
And with with the humans, like they have like a realistic emotion range to their voice.
Especially some of the bad guys you come across, you can hear the anger in their voice. Some of them, they just talk in a way where you know they're a little bit unhinged, and so that's well done. We won't sort of talk in depth about it because there's quite a bit. In terms of the voice, there's quite a lot to talk about there. But specifically, pretty much my favorite part is BT. Like when I'm playing the game, I just adore BT. You know, he sounds exactly how your usual robots would sound in any form of media, really. And yeah, it's a good sounding voice for him.
And for the human, for the one scene near the end, I think it was, where BT was destroyed, I think, you could hear the sadness in the human's voice,
your character sort of he watches it, and you can hear the anguish because he got quite attached to BT. You could hear that he was genuinely impacted by it.
And you could hear, he was angry, he was feeling all these emotions, and you could feel it in his voice.
It sounded how I would probably sound, and how I did sound when I had to see BT go, but, you know, Yeah, it all sounded really good, and especially like the gun weapons all sound how I would expect them to, and I genuinely don't have any complaints for it. So moving on, we'll talk briefly about the gameplay. Now, when it comes to the gameplay, I narrow it down to two things. When you're running on your own, or when you're in the Titan. Now, when you're on your own, the mobility you have is really good. You have, obviously, just your regular weapons, assault rifle, shotgun, whatever. But you can run very fast, you can run along the walls, you can be very quick to move, and it feels good to control them. For me personally, I don't have that mobility, as you can guess. So playing it like that, I feel the excitement that of being able to be that mobile.
And I would like to extend on that one, because with sliding on the walls, with running on the walls, and just running in general, it feels very fluent. It's natural. It's natural running.
It's very well worked so that it is smooth the whole way through. And then of course when you come to the Titan, the mobility is reduced when you're in the Titan, which is exactly how it should be, because you're in a huge machine which is built for firepower, not for mobility. So it isn't quite as fluent, it's not quite as easy to move, but it works in your favor because it's not supposed to be. So they've still done it very well, and you still feel that firepower, and it's really enjoyable.
And I would like to say this, with the, jumping with the robot, with BT, it feels... Was there jumping in there?
Not really, you can dash forward.
Dash forward, that's right, I forgot what it was called.
Yeah.
Dash forward, it feels like it would be if it was realistically speaking, it feels real,
Yeah, it's it's not built to fly, it's not built to be particularly quick.
But it is meant to be a heavy, protection for you.
Yeah, and it feels how I would expect it to feel controlling a Titan. And as I said, obviously the weapons, you've got all the different classes of weapons for your own character. And then you've got different classes for your Titan. And it means that there's a lot to try. There's a lot to do with that Titan. And it is just plain enjoyable.
And I would like to add on to most of that, with the gameplay, when you're fighting and all that, it feels very like you're actually there. It feels like you would it feels like it would be if you were actually fighting in a war or trying to survive.
Yeah, it's the battle. You take damage how you'd expect to. Everything. The battle for the gameplay it's good. It's as I said, there's a lot of different ways that you can play it. A lot of different.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can replay it multiple times, and it's good to have the whole aspect of combat in it. It's done well. I like sometimes just challenge myself being on my own. Sometimes in the Titan. All very good. The gameplay for this game is one of the most fun games I've ever encountered.
And with the difficulties of it, you have the easiest mode, which is just for pure fun, just story experience.
Yeah.
And then you have the hardest difficulty, which is to give you a challenge, to challenge your your thinking,
your abilities. Yeah, and obviously having a difficulty counter in a game, it would be significantly more rare for you to not have that ability than you do. But it's always good to sort of mention that just how much the game changes when you go to a higher difficulty. But yeah, so the gameplay it is one of the most fun games that I've played.
And, like, that is true. And, like, it is very fun, and I would love to play it again, like...
Yeah, definitely. I myself have played this game on multiple different occasions, and I can guarantee that I'll be playing it again. I'm always happy to replay certain games. There are some games that I play and I just think, I'm not feeling it. This game, I would be happy to replay again and again.
And for me, like, I don't normally like playing certain games over and over and over.
Yeah.
But, like, with this game, it's an exception. Like, it's a fun, enjoyable experience, like...
Yeah.
And, like, yes, maybe not every time, like, you play a game, you wouldn't play it all the time, like...
Yeah, you'd have to have a break, but it's one you can find yourself going back to.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Definitely. So the basic parts of the story, your character is... Well, when you first get introduced to it, and you're training to get used to it, the story has it that you're in a simulation to train yourself, which is a fun little thing for me that, it's treated almost as if the training were a game, but that's a little bit more of a tell on my mind itself. But your character, it has to go onto a planet with his squadron, and the squadron gets attacked, and then the pilot who was training you dies and transfers control over BT to you. So what you have to do then is simply survive, get BT, get through these bad guys, and get back home. It is the simplest parts of it.
Yes, and it's kind of like a survival action first shooter game. So basically, in terms of story wise, you have to survive, get off the planet, as he said.
Yeah, it is just, in essence, the story is survive and triumph, basically. You're versing a relatively powerful enemy, almost, they're an army, and you have to fight through them to get back with your squadron, and then you have to fight to win. It is basically a full-blown war, and the story is very well done.
And in terms of emotions and all in the story, the fact that he saw his army getting killed and all that when they landed.
Yeah, and the fact that your character is left alone. By the time you take control, you're on your own, and it is a daunting experience.
And for me, if that was me in that situation, I wouldn't be able to handle it. So so it's kind of impressive that he was able to go through all that.
Yeah, and it's written, especially your character reacts how you would expect to react. To a degree. Obviously, he shows that he's trained to deal with this sort of situation. But yeah, your character is really having to triumph. He's got a lot that he has to overcome, and it's done very well in terms of the story.
And the fact he has when he first found out that from BT that he was the new pilot, it was a shock to him.
Yeah, he was surprised, very, as you'd expect to be. And then, obviously, watching how the relationship between your character and BT evolves, they go from him just, obviously just seeing him as a machine, he gets attached to BT. Because BT does have a personality.
And that goes back to the other bit when we talked about when he got destroyed. It just shows that emotion that he feels with BT.
Yeah, and he feels connected to BT. As he should, really. They've both just helped each other get out of death several times, basically. So the story itself, it really is well written, that you go from being on your own and having to battle through many different levels where you're just on your own. You finally start to regroup and you have to help your group. And you just slowly progress from right to the start to the end. A full-on battle, and your character is crucial to it. So it's written well, it keeps you playing. Beautiful story.
And I think that's about it for the story part of it.
So we've basically said, in the process of talking about everything else, we've spoken about the characters about as much as we can. Although I would like to reiterate my absolute love for BT. He's the exact type of robot you would usually find. He doesn't understand human expression. He's very robotic in his answers. And yet there's a certain personality to him that is just so likable.
And with BT and all that, he's like a father, a friend, a friend that you would like to have,
Yeah, and seeing him become friends with your character is good, and because you're seeing BT yourself, you consider him a friend yourself, not just your character. You think of him like an old friend by the time you finish playing.
And you get attached to him, and when it's over, you're just I don't want it to be over,
Yeah, it's a little bit heartbreaking, and that, I think, indicates how well he's written. So yeah, that's just the thing I wanted to mention again, because I really do love BT. But we've spoken about the main characters, and yeah, so I said the characters are written well enough that you see them how the game developer wants you to see them. The enemy, you're supposed to dislike them, you're supposed to be against them, and for BT, you're supposed to like him, and they are very effective in getting you to react that way.
And even with the mini characters,
the side characters,
that you fight along the way or meet.
Yeah,
you with the good ones, you like them, you feel sorry for them that they're in this war.
Yeah, and you see them in a way where you do want to help them. Even though you've not known them for that long, you still want to help them. I don't know, it's... I guess it would be different for other people, but I personally find that, I empathize with the characters very well. So we've basically spoken about all we can for the game. As I said, I have spoken about the game previously, but I wanted to give an opportunity for Zach to say his piece and to be on the podcast, as he is a close friend. Thank you.
I really appreciate it as well.
I appreciate you coming on.
It's a great honor.
Well, I've had a lot of fun. I hope you, the listener, have. Thank you for coming on today, Zach.
And no problem.
And with that, I am Jeremy. This is Not So Hardcore Gaming. And Zach,
See you later and peace.
Beautiful. See you later, guys.